Olá pessoal, aqui quem fala é André Franco, Head Research do Mercado Bitcoin, e hoje a gente vai trazer um conteúdo muito especial para você, mas junto comigo aqui também tem o Bernard Pedra, que vai me ajudar nesse bate-papo. E aí, Bernard, tudo certo com você?
Fala aí, pessoal. O conteúdo tá incrível, então, por favor, não deixe de assistir até o final.
Boa, hoje a gente vai começar com o Zeneca, que é fundador da Zen Academy. Zeneca, primeiro de tudo, assim, muito bom ter você aqui para falar sobre esse assunto aqui. A gente vai começar falando sobre NFTs, vai passar um pouco por inteligência artificial, mas acho que para todo mundo que está vendo esse vídeo é interessantíssimo entender sua trajetória, né? Acho que todo mundo nesse mercado cripto tem uma história interessante, a sua não deve ser diferente. Eu queria ouvir do seu lado aí como que foi esse seu trajeto até você chegar em cripto.
Yeah, so I first got into crypto in 2017, a little bit. My background before that is I was a professional poker player, which I did for about 15 years. And in 2017, I got in, and then the bear market in 2018 came along, and I sort of left the space because it wasn't, that good for me anymore. And I think like a lot of people left. And then early 2021 comes around, and that is when NFTs are going off, DeFi is around, and everything's very exciting. And I had some friends that were in the space, and they told me about it. And so that's when I properly got back in, and I got like obsessed with NFTs. I thought, this is the coolest things ever. And that was kind of the beginning of it in like March, April 2021. I started, trading and doing all sorts of random, flipping and stuff like that for a few months. And then somewhere along the way, I started creating content. I had my newsletter. I started a podcast. I started, tweeting more and YouTube videos. And really just like towards the end of 2021 is when I launched Zen Academy, which is my community and project really focused on education and content. And that's really what I've been working on for the last year and a half now.
Você falou umas coisas interessantes aí sobre os ciclos de mercado, e isso, obviamente, é muito interessante para a gente, e eu queria ouvir do seu lado também, com a sua experiência, como que para você navegar tanto nesses ciclos que já passaram e agora tendo o seu próprio projeto, e também quais são as suas perspectivas aí como um cara que é fundador de uma comunidade, um trader e um colecionador nesse mercado.
Yeah, it's very interesting and it's changed. So this is the first bear market that I stayed in crypto. So like 2018 through 2020, I left. And then obviously during the bull run, it's very, very different to what it is now in these times. It is difficult in a lot of ways. Engagement is very low. A lot of people have left the space. There's not that many of us left. Prices are down. It's kind of like, just a much lower energy space. So it's difficult, as a project founder and as a trader and everything. It's just like everything's kind of down. But as a builder, it is a little more calm, and you can get more work done during these bear market times, I think. So I try and look for like the silver lining, the positives, there's a lot, going wrong and going bad, but there's also like a lot to be grateful and thankful for. And so, me and my team were, still doing what we always do and try to create great content and work with the community and help others. And this market is no different.
A gente tem um espacinho no final para você falar um pouco do Zen Academy, mas eu já vou me adiantar aqui e pedir para você contar um pouco do que se trata essa comunidade, né? Qual foi a sua primeira ideação sobre o Zen Academy e como que foi construir ao ponto no sentido de que você provavelmente deve ter mudado um pouco de ideia ao longo do caminho, né? Como que a sua comunidade recebe essa mudança e, óbvio, como que a própria comunidade impacta essas mudanças que você foi tomando no meio do caminho.
Yeah, so the first time I had an idea about Zen Academy, I think it was in June 2021. So not that long after I got into the space. And basically, I realized how difficult it was to learn about NFTs. Like the learning curve is very steep. You have to learn about MetaMask and Gas and ETH and marketplaces and layer ones and layer twos and there's ERC20 and 721 and 11. It was very difficult. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if there was an easier way for people to learn about NFTs? And that's where the idea for Zen Academy came from, because I was, writing content and I thought I could create, this learning journey, these portals, these pathways for people to learn about NFTs and crypto. And that's really the beginning of where Zen Academy came from. And we started out that way, really just like a Discord server, and then started building out more and more content over the last year and a half. And it's grown a lot since then, but that was the beginning.
Queria só complementar isso daí, tenho muito te agradecer que seu Discord abriu portas para mim. E se hoje eu sou quem eu sou em cripto, foi muito por conta da ajuda que seu Discord me deu também. Então tenho muito te agradecer. E eu queria te fazer uma pergunta quanto de comunidade sobre todo esse ethos de NFTs que a gente vê hoje em dia, né? Sobre você criar uma comunidade e acabar devolvendo uma certa espécie de valor para os seus holders. E, ao mesmo tempo, atrair gente nova para dentro do seu projeto. Queria saber, da sua opinião, qual seria esse meio termo que a gente teria entre dar valor para os holders antigos e trazer novos holders, dando valor para eles também. Qual seria esse meio do caminho, assim, quando a gente fala em construção de comunidades e até mesmo quando fala construção de comunidades mesmo?
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to balance. You know, you've got your original holders that you want to reward, but you have new members that you want to bring into the community and give them like a similar experience. And it's something I don't think it's possible really to make everyone happy and to do it properly, because I wrote about this a while back and I called it like impossible expectations. If you think of a community with thousands of holders, hundreds or thousands of holders, everyone has different expectations. And like some people join a year ago, 18 months ago, and they expect one thing. Some people join yesterday. Everyone pays a different price as well, because on the secondary market, prices, go up and down and people have different entries. And I've thought about like, how do you, balance the everyone together, and there's no great way to do it. For me, it's just about staying true to myself and ourselves, and creating content that we think will help people one way or another, and being very honest with our communication and expectations. So we don't tell people we're not building a metaverse, we're not building a game, we're not doing a DAO, we're not doing a token, we're not doing airdrops. It's like I try to stay very clear from that and just say, we're not promising that much, but what we do promise we can deliver on. We can deliver on some content, we can deliver on a Discord server, we can turn up and help you however we can. And I think that has sort of set the tone for the entire community over the last 18 months. And so for the most part, anyone that joins understands what they're getting into and involved with. And we've had this really organic growth where no matter if they joined 18 months ago, whatever they paid for the token versus mint or now, generally people seem happy. So it's kind of like under promise, hopefully over deliver.
Maravilha. Provavelmente, assim, Zeneca, olhando de fora, né, dado a bagagem, obviamente, a vontade que você teve de criar essa comunidade, foi lá atrás fazer, você deve ter bastante erros e acertos aí nessa jornada, né? Eu queria que você, assim, óbvio, não vou pedir para você listar 10 de cada um desses, como eu queria que fosse, mas eu queria que você listasse, assim, um grande acerto e um grande erro que você teve na construção do Zen Academy que que destaca para você.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, there's been a lot to be thankful for since we launched. I think the team that has joined me, I've been very happy with that. And like, we've just attracted so many wonderful people to help on so many different areas of the business. One thing that I'm particularly happy and proud of is the 30 days of NFTs course that we put together and created as like, a way to teach people about NFTs and via email, take them from day 1 all the way to day 30 of how to set up a wallet and what an NFT is and how it all works. And I'm very, very happy with that. And that was one of the biggest pluses. In terms of like the downsides, there's been a variety of things along the way. I think just not really figuring out our purpose and vision and mission like super early on. And some of that was by design. Like I said, there's no roadmap, there's no plan. I don't know what I'm going to do. And, really spent a long time just trying all sorts of different things, seeing what works. And only now are we really properly honing in on what it is we want to do going forward. And that is obviously, continue to teach people about crypto and NFTs and Web3 in general. But even more so, I think we want to focus on founders and builders and creators and people who are here to sort of, build the next companies and build the next projects. And, I think that we have a unique ability to create content for founders and builders and help them because of my experience and the experience of some of the others on the team and the community. So yeah, the downside is how long it took to come to this realization, but I think of it as a positive now.
Sobre esses erros e acertos que você mencionou aí, vem muito na minha cabeça pelo menos, essa ideia de que a comunidade ela quer um roadmap certinho, né? Das promessas que você tem. Então, cara, daqui no primeiro trimestre eu vou fazer isso, no segundo a gente vai fazer isso, e gera uma certa ansiedade se você não dá esse roadmap. Da mesma forma que se você dá esse roadmap e não cumpre, você quebra uma expectativa com a sua comunidade, né? Você acha que hoje, ou em algum momento futuro, as comunidades vão ter um pouco mais de paciência com isso e entender que é um projeto ongoing, um projeto que está se fazendo e se construindo, ou na verdade você precisa ter um sabor aí, algum caráter de roadmap para a comunidade setar as expectativas de o que ela deve esperar de você?
Yeah, I think it's something that a lot of projects I think get wrong, where they promise a roadmap and they can't deliver on it, and then it fails. I think there are obviously projects that have a roadmap and they do deliver, and that's amazing, and they do really, really well. But most of the time, people tend to put out really ambitious roadmaps, and then they fall short because the market changes or their beliefs were wrong. And so I think for us, it's always been about not putting out too much of a roadmap, and like we've never had a roadmap. We've just had sort of like some ideas and some goals and some values and a culture, and it really is just about like we're going to figure this out as we go along, because we know the space is always changing, and we have to adapt to it. And as like up until now, I haven't felt a need to put a roadmap out there, and I think the community is okay with that. We're working on a PFP project now, but it was never on the roadmap. It was just like one day we were like, you know what, we're going to do a PFP because we think it would be nice to have a PFP for the community to use on social media. And so we started working on it, and it got delayed and it took longer than we thought it was going to take, and the community is okay with it because we never promised too much of the world. It's just sort of adapt as we go along. So I'm probably not going to do any big roadmap, and I think that I'm happy with that, yeah.
Show. Nossa, queria só complementar também que acho que a maioria dos projetos que a gente vê mais dando certo são aqueles que deixam no mistério, né? Que deixam ali o storytelling narrar o roadmap, né? Começar a aparecer coisas a partir do storytelling do projeto. Mas conversando um pouco agora sobre expectativas, eu queria puxar um ponto aqui delicado que eu tô doido para conversar com você, que é sobre esse novo mercado que a gente tem visto aí com a criação do Blur e tal, e toda uma financiarização de NFTs. Então a gente viu todos aqueles colecionáveis que a gente via que tinham uma importância um pouco maior quanto à raridade, eram um pouco mais ilíquidos, agora se tornando extremamente líquidos, você tendo pool de liquidez aí para fazer extremas liquidações desses ativos. E eu queria só saber a sua perspectiva do futuro quanto a essa nova modalidade de mercado. O que isso pode agregar para o mercado, o que isso pode prejudicar o mercado. A gente tem visto aí alguns projetos de blue chip sofrendo um pouco, a gente viu o Frank Borg ali conseguindo realizar uma grande liquidação ali de NFTs dele ali, por conta dessa ferramenta que ajudou ele bastante, mas ao mesmo tempo a gente vê que quando a gente adiciona esse termo de financiarização para um ativo ilíquido, você começa a ver que se gera mini crises ali, né? Eu queria saber sua perspectiva quanto a isso, quanto a essa nova ferramenta, esse novo estilo de mercado que está surgindo com o Blur. E que eu acho que surgiu lá atrás ali com o SudoSwap, mas agora a gente vê isso se expandindo com o Blur mesmo.
Yeah, it's it's a very big thing that's happened in the space over the last few months. And basically the way that I think of it is that the market has always been like this. I don't think the market has fundamentally changed in a very significant way. I think, especially for these 10K PFP projects, most people who bought them, most holders, were just there to make money. They were just there to profit. I would say out of 10,000, maybe a few hundred people really like the art. They like they use it as a PFP, maybe a couple thousand in really extreme cases, but still 70, 80, 90, 95% of people and holders were there to flip and trade. Except before you had Blur or any of the marketplaces out there now, Gem, OpenSea Pro, etc., where you could buy and list in mass and trade and flip and had liquidity pools and bidding pools. You would just list one by one on the floor, and it just wasn't really possible for people to have massive liquidity in any direction. And so I think the market was very inefficient. And I think it priced things higher because most people that wanted to sell would only list one of their to sale. They wouldn't list 100 if they had them. And they couldn't accept that many bids because there generally weren't that many bids on projects and things like that. So I think that basically what Blur has done is shine a light on the market and shown us for what it really is. And it's not as rosy as we all maybe thought it was, where people were buying because they love the art and they want to hold and to support. It was because they were buying to make money. And obviously with the Blur incentives for bidding, that adds an extra spanner into the wrench and makes it a little more complicated and tricky. And I think that is artificially damaging some flaws and projects probably. But again, it's difficult to say because we can't see what would happen in a universe where that doesn't exist. We've only got this one universe to look at where during the bear market, all this has happened, everything is crashing, and the floor prices are going down while these incentives also happen. So I think that for like your large 10K projects, etc., for the most part, most holders are there to make money, and they're turning them into like liquid tokens. Basically, it's like Kobe once said, NFTs are just altcoins with pictures. I think that's actually accurate for the most part. The difference is there are other NFTs or certain types of NFTs that don't fall into that category. And that's usually the art NFTs, but one-of-one art, generative art, where artists, probably more one-of-one art, create something, people collect it because they like it. They don't want to make money. They don't want to sell it. They don't want to list it. There's not hundreds or thousands of them to list. It's just like smaller collections with collectors. And I think that is very, very different and separate to your 10K project. And so, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's just the market hasn't changed significantly. It's the tools have changed. And so the market is finding its true prices for a lot of things very quickly.
Eu acho que isso é um ponto muito especial que você trouxe dessas PFPs, desses projetos estarem contando seu preço verdadeiro agora, porque a gente realmente tem uma limitação quanto a devolver esse valor, principalmente para aquelas coleções aí que são sediadas nos Estados Unidos, que você tem realmente uma limitação legislatória até mesmo para isso, né? A gente viu o caso da Yuga Labs ali com o IPDAO, deles querem fazer uma certa associação com os dois, mas serem coisas diferentes, que eles conseguiram ainda fazer esse, como posso dizer, um somebody love ali da coisa. Não sei como o tradutor vai traduzir isso daqui, mas deu uma sambada ali para fazer isso. O que eu queria saber agora, assim, como que você acha que vai ser o futuro disso, assim? Como que você acha que vai ser o futuro do desenvolver com esse novo mercado, assim? Se projetos vão quebrar, se esses projetos, assim, se a gente vai ver blue chips deixando sair dos cargos de blue chips, a gente vai ver projetos simplesmente só deixando de existir.
Yes, I think we're going to see a lot of projects that won't exist. And I think even if you go back to 2021, most people were saying 99% of projects are going to zero, 99.99% of projects. Like, I think most people saw this coming, but we were sort of blinded with greed, and like myself included was like, all right, number is going to go up. It's going to keep going up. NFTs are going to go up. ETH is going to hit 10K. Bitcoin will hit 100. It's like everyone thought this, and then it all comes crashing down. And it's like, oh, in hindsight, we knew it was going to happen. And then it happened. And it's continuing to happen. So I think what we're seeing now is a lot of projects from 2021 and even 2022, like they raised a bunch of money and then they lost the money and it's running out. And now it's like, where do they go? They're just slowly fading away. Even some blue chips. And I think that the difference is, I guess, like a lot of these 10K collections, especially the ones that had 10,000 and they launched another collection of 20,000. Now there's all these NFTs. There's just not that many people interested in the space anymore and interested in collecting them for collecting them's sake. And so, yes, I do think, the market is going to fundamentally change. I think that the future is going to be very different. Some of the existing projects will survive. The ones that can build like a real product, a service, a community, value, revenue that is not dependent on the community necessarily, they will survive. And like the ones that do survive 5-10 years from now, I think will be doing very, very, very well, but most of them will not. And the difficulty is knowing which will and which won't. But yeah, most of them just, I don't think will survive because there's just not that much interest in the world yet for, one of 10,000, let alone one of 50,000 NFTs from a collection. Again, certain collections, like I think personally, CryptoPunks are just the OG. They will always hold certain value for collectors and cultural significance and stuff like that, not because of the utility or anything like that. And then you have so many others, and it's hard to know like what's going to be around. Bored Apes, Azuki, Doodles, Moon, but there's so many out there, and like some of them will, yes, some of them probably won't. And I think no one really knows what will survive, 5 years from now.
Exatamente, a gente tem visto até mesmo o ecossistema da Yuga Labs ali crescendo sem tamanho, criando várias vertentes de NFTs, e a gente começa a reparar exatamente nisso, né, que essas coleções têm começado a se expandir, criar mais raízes muito mais profundas para abraçar mais pessoas e até mesmo para, a gente não sabe até que ponto para abraçar mais pessoas ou se é mesmo para captar mais fundos, né? E você falou uma coisa muito legal que era um insight que eu aprendi com você, que eu trouxe, me acendeu a cabeça com você, que era realmente sobre isso, de outras coleções começarem a trazer outras formas de financiamento para o seu projeto, seja fazendo forma de multimídia, seja criando produtos físicos. Eu queria saber um pouco sua opinião, assim, o que você acha que seria mais sustentável para uma grande marca, alguma coisa assim como um Azuki ou até mesmo de um body de ape, começar assim, criar quais são essas novas formas de receita, assim, como um projeto consegue se sustentar para um longo prazo como uma marca, assim, ele consegue se impor no espaço Web3 e até mesmo fora dele, para realmente criar um revenue para se manter vivo eternamente, assim.
It's very difficult. I think that we haven't seen too many great examples of it. I think for like most of the big ones that we see, Bored Apes, Azuki, Doodles, etc., they're really leaning into like the IP and becoming like a well-known brand where people want to buy their products. So merchandise or attend events where they pay to attend events or watch content and attend parties and like all that kind of stuff. I think if they build a big enough brand and like people want to buy, an Azuki branded, skateboard or hoodie or, a Bored Ape, this, that, or the other, then there's potential revenue lines there. And like, you can monetize in merchandise and in whatever in so many different ways. But I think most of them will not be able to do that. I think Doodles are doing some interesting things where they want to go into like the music industry and become this like, millions of holders collecting them. Pudgy Penguins have the physical toys that they're rolling out and they're doing stuff with IP. There's a lot of things. Most of the big projects seem to be in the IP sphere, which is interesting and curious. Some projects are going more into like the products and services side of thing. Like at Zen Academy, we're going into like consulting and, with content like sponsorships and affiliates and referrals and stuff like that. Other people are doing like, they'll make software, products and then sell them as like a software as a service and distribute them and generate revenue that way. So there's a lot of different options and things, but again, most startups fail. Most businesses are not going to make it. I think most will struggle, but there will be a few that survive, and those ones will probably do very well long term.
Tem uma coisa que estava até fora da nossa pauta aqui, mas eu queria pegar a sua opinião, que é quanto aos NFTs no Bitcoin. A gente teve um frenesi aí bem relevante recentemente, e a comunidade de cripto do Bitcoin se dividiu, assim, desde as pessoas das pessoas que odiaram esse negócio, que são os Bitcoin maximalistas, outros caras que voltaram a se engajar com o protocolo do Bitcoin. E eu queria pegar a sua percepção, como um cara que trabalha com NFT, tem uma comunidade disso, qual é a sua leitura sobre isso e quão entusiasmado você está com esses NFTs no Bitcoin?
First of all, I love the wizard hat. I think they're great. I think, Taproot wizards are doing some amazing things. Ordinals in general are, I think like technically very, very cool. Someone found a way to inscribe high amounts of data onto the Bitcoin blockchain forever. It's like, this is very, very, very cool for a very small percentage of these cultural artifacts. I think the big difference between Bitcoin NFTs or ordinals rather, and Bitcoin in general and Ethereum is that on Ethereum, you have smart contracts, which allow for all these other interesting things that you can do. Now, I know that people are working on like some smart contract type things for Bitcoin, and they've got marketplaces now and it's improved a lot. But I still think that there's just a lot that you can't do with the NFTs or the ordinals on Bitcoin that you can do on ETH. But I'm a fan. I think, I just think they're here to stay. Like they're not going anywhere. I think that there's going to be there's over 1 million now have been inscribed. I think some of those are going to be extremely valuable. Most will not. I don't think something like the 412,000th minted ordinal is going to be worth something just because it's in the first million. But I think that within that million, there are certain collections and pieces that will hold historical value, and they will be worth something. And yeah, I think it's very cool. I like it.
Só para falar um recado rápido, né, que o vídeo não saiu só eu rindo, e pareceu que era basicamente a pessoa rindo no meio da pergunta. O Bernard botou um chapéu aqui em referência ao Taperoot Wizard, então todo mundo que viu isso aqui é só essa referência. Pode perguntar, Bernard.
Não, eu queria só ressaltar que realmente eu concordo com você nessa parte da questão da adoção dos ordinals, e uma coisa muito importante, eu acho, é realmente o fato daquilo estar 100% on-chain, né? A gente viu os Moonbirds fazendo isso ali na frente, acho que o pessoal não deu tanta importância assim, mas a gente viu agora realmente o pessoal trazendo isso assim com o Bitcoin, até mesmo das coisas que aconteceram na rede da Ethereum, acho que foi o Goblin Town, né? Que você teve aquela mudança ali de metadados nos NFTs, e o pessoal acabou sofrendo um grande backslash ali da comunidade, e é realmente um ponto muito delicado ali, quando você você lembra que aquilo ali é realmente ainda mutável, né? Queria saber, assim, sua opinião, assim, será que a gente vai encontrar mais opções mais escaláveis para começar a mintar esses NFTs on-chain na Ethereum? Ou se até mesmo assim a gente vai começar a ter mais utilidade para esses NFTs no Bitcoin, assim, começar a ver toda essa questão de utilidade caindo ali pros ordinals, né?
Obviously, there's a moment when you're into NFTs where you realize that what you're buying on ETH is not the actual image. You're buying the metadata that points to a URL that has the image hosted somewhere else, usually on IPFS or Arweave or something like that. And I think most of those NFTs are, they're not permanent. They're not here forever because the storage can go down 10 years, 20 years, 50 years from now. Who knows if they'll survive? And that's a big concern. And I think that what we're seeing is that there's different types of NFTs now. There's the fully on-chain ones and certain people really like those and resonate with those and believe in those. But most people seem to not care that much, at least today, about whether it's on-chain or not. And they don't care about the metadata so much. I do think that as time goes on, the ones that are on-chain will be more valuable because they'll be around forever and immutable and have the historical value. I think it's difficult to have things fully on-chain on Ethereum, at least because of the costs involved. But perhaps on layer 2s, we'll see that more. Bitcoin, obviously, you can upload even more, I think a few megabytes of data as ordinals, which is incredible and amazing. But for Ethereum, I think on mainnet, at least for the most part, most things won't be on-chain. The things that are on-chain are usually pixelated because they're not very expensive to upload that amount of data. Or it's something like generative art where you upload the code to the blockchain and the code creates it. Maybe there's some interesting things with AI that will happen where you upload some AI to the blockchain. I don't know. It could be interesting. But for the most part, I don't think we'll see on-chain high quality things on ETH anytime soon.
Queria puxar uma outra aqui já também, né? Acho que você falou um pouco sobre história de NFTs históricos, né? E isso me remete, sempre que eu lembro de NFTs históricos, me remete à arte, e eu queria mudar um pouco do assunto e falar um pouco sobre NFTs de arte, né? Dando uma olhada nos índices da Nansen, a gente vê que a maioria das coleções de NFTs não são lucrativas. Quando a gente olha assim, PFPs, metaverso, como as coleções não são lucrativas de um hold de longo prazo. Se a gente vê ali a análise de um ano da Nansen, a gente vê que essas coleções estão todas ali abaixo do cap deles ali de $1.000, né? Que como seria se você investisse $1.000 em em 20 NFTs ali do índice, 500 e tudo mais. A única coleção ali, o único índice que a gente vê realmente mantendo o seu valor e até mesmo ultrapassando certos valores, alcançando um break-even ali, arrumando um lucro, são os NFTs de arte. E eu queria saber qual a sua perspectiva de futuro para os NFTs de arte, né? E até mesmo quando a gente, talvez entrando no nosso próximo tema de inteligência artificial, assim, o que você vê quanto a esses NFTs de arte aí, os artistas mesmo, quanto à inteligência artificial, assim, como se vai ser uma ótima ferramenta para eles, se vai ser um perigo para eles, como se esse pessoal vai estar protegido contra machine learning ali, dessas IAs ali, para usar machine learning nessas suas artes, questão de copywriting e tudo mais. Queria saber sua opinião quanto a isso, assim, até mesmo o futuro da arte em NFTs e o futuro da arte quanto à inteligência artificial.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that art NFTs are in general going to perform better than PFPs for a few reasons. One is that there's just less art than there are PFP projects. There's like tens of thousands of PFP projects that have 10,000 PFPs, whereas it's much more difficult to create art and interesting. And if an artist is doing well, they have more loyal collectors, and people buy generally because they like the art and less to collect and flip and speculate. So it's not surprising that art has performed well, and I think it will continue to perform better over the long term than most random PFP projects. I think when it comes to AI, it gets very interesting. I think that, there are some artists who are sort of concerned or afraid about AI. Others are embracing it in a variety of ways. And I think that one way or another, AI, it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. The world has been changed fundamentally forever already. And I think we're already seeing way more AI art hit the market. We're going to see a lot more going forward. And I think when it comes to images and art generated by AI, I kind of think of it a little bit like photography. Like if you have a camera, there are professional photographers and photographer artists who take amazing pictures, and anyone can take their iPhone out and we can all take photos. Anyone can create AI art, but that doesn't mean it's going to be good. And so there'll be some people who create really incredible outcomes and outputs and curate collections through AI art. And I think those will always be valuable, but just random AI art, there's so much of it already that it's not valuable. So Life in West America is a great recent collection that came out of AI art that is, phenomenal. And it's better than almost anything I would say out there. It's just fantastic. And there's some artists like Claire Silver doing really interesting things in the AI art space, and there's a lot of stuff happening. Most random AI art is not going to be impressive because anyone can go into Midjourney or DALL-E or whatever and create something, but when there's some extra purpose and time and everything put into it, I think that's when things get pretty special.
Tem uma coisa que acho que me chama a atenção desde o começo da nossa conversa aqui, é a sua visão nada romântica sobre o espaço, né? A ideia de que, cara, as coisas são difíceis mesmo, o caminho é difícil, você vai enfrentar problemas, muita gente vai ficar pelo caminho. Isso é uma percepção que, às vezes, a gente, como investidor, fica de alguma forma torcendo para aquilo que a gente comprou subir, e isso acaba guiando a gente para um caminho errado, né? Acho que é sempre bom ouvir a perspectiva de alguém que está fazendo aí as coisas e entender que as coisas são muito mais complicadas do que parecem. E aí, do seu ponto de vista, assim, tanto vendo aquilo que já deu certo e errado, tem alguns desses experimentos que a gente está vendo em NFT que te chamam mais atenção no sentido de, olha, aqui eu acho que tenho uma pista interessante do que pode dar certo, ou, cara, não, esse lado aqui vai dar tudo errado porque já deu errado lá atrás e vai continuar dando errado. Quais são desses experimentos que você tem visto recentemente que mais te chamam a atenção, tanto para o bem quanto para o mal?
Yeah, there's in this market, it's difficult to get very excited about a lot. In terms of what I think will do well or I'm excited by long term, I think there are a handful of established projects that have raised a lot of money. They have a passionate community. They've got a lot of positive goodwill. and they're like doing decently during the bear market. And I think those will probably do great long term. The prime example is Pudgy Penguins. Like they've done fairly well in this market. They raise money. They've got physical toys coming out. Their Instagram account is following. They've built a real brand around it, and like there's a lot of support for them. I think Utes and DGods is another example of a project that, it's had a lot of fun, but like Frank and the team are doing really good things at capturing attention. And I think attention is like, we're in an attention economy. So projects that can grab attention, they make me sit up and take, especially in this market. If you can grab attention in this market, that is 10 times even more impressive. So those are a couple of projects that I think are interesting. And then of course, the artists that are still here and creating and putting out work, especially the ones that are doing things that are like interesting and novel and digitally native. So I think that's where AI comes into play, generative art comes into play, animated work comes into play, glitch art comes into play. There's a lot of interesting art that is very much still being created and minted as NFTs. And I think that also excites me over the longer term. But yeah, there's just, I think generally speaking, it's a bleak market, it's a bear market, and most things don't have the same hype and excitement and everything that they did a year or two ago. But I think that means this is a market for builders and a market for collectors and a market for people who are like, I would say 95% of people left the space. And so the people that are still here now, checking the news, talking to people, being in Discord, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube, and just like paying attention to the NFT market, like the signal to noise quality is like way better. And most people are serious now. So there's some really cool stuff happening, especially with AI in the space. And I think that is, where I'll be paying more attention to.
Concordo, acho que o espaço está se tornando muito mais maduro quanto a essa parte até mesmo de financiarização, de novos produtos aparecendo, dinheiro institucional entrando, marcas entrando. Então, o espaço está se tornando muito mais maduro, né? A gente nunca vivenciou um ciclo de mercado de NFTs e a gente está vivenciando isso agora. Acho que é o primeiro ciclo de bear market, assim, de NFTs, né? Eu realmente não vivi ainda aquela parte dos OGs, dos CryptoKitties, dos CryptoPunks, mas eu tenho quase certeza que realmente a gente está vivendo o primeiro grande ciclo assim, de NFTs, né? E a gente vai ter uma grande perspectiva quanto a um próximo ciclo. Talvez aí, eu não sei sua perspectiva quanto à funcionalidade do ecossistema, se vai funcionar diferente de DeFi, se vai funcionar que nem cripto, se a gente vai ter isso funcionando em ciclos, ou se vai ser uma coisa meio que linear, que a gente vai subindo, criando só produtos novos, tendo uma atenção ali que NFTs vão se consolidar como uma ferramenta, de fato, não como um ativo, né? E até mesmo conversando assim, nessa parte de ferramenta, ativos, eu queria saber sua perspectiva agora quanto à inteligência artificial associadas a desenvolvimento de infraestrutura de metaverso em NFTs, a IA associada a marketplaces, NFTs dinâmicos, que é um tópico que está aparecendo bastante agora, que eu acho que vai ficar bastante quente ainda mais misturado com DeFi, né? Como a gente já vê aqueles NFTs de liquid pool, da Uniswap, acredito que isso vai se tornar muito mais profissional agora com esses NFTs dinâmicos, né? E eu fico ainda batendo cabeça, assim, pensando na possibilidade que isso tem, ainda mais trazendo assim, um contrato inteligente associado a uma inteligência artificial, alguma coisa assim do tipo, né? Então eu queria saber a sua perspectiva quanto a isso, quanto a inteligência artificial pode influenciar dentro da infraestrutura de cripto e quanto isso pode afetar, no geral, esse mercado.
It's really difficult to know what's going to happen with the NFT space moving forward. I think the technology is sound, solid. It's never going anywhere and will continually build up as our futures get more and more digital. NFTs are just going to be everywhere and everyone will have a wallet and interact with them eventually one day. However long that takes, whether it's 2 years or 10 years or 15 years or 20 years or 6 months, it's probably somewhere in the middle, a few years away. And that will happen independent of anything else. So like prices will go up, prices will go down, people will speculate, but the technology will grow and get better and better and more usable, and people interact with NFTs very seamlessly. I think clearly a lot of attention now is on AI. Like it seems like it used to be Web3, crypto, metaverse, NFTs. Now a lot of that energy is on AI. And for good reason. We're seeing all these incredible consumer ready products that people can use, and it's like improving their lives immensely. I think AI is the biggest innovation we've seen in maybe ever in human history in a very, very, very long time. To me, it might be more significant than the internet, or it's at least on that level of being as significant as the internet. It's both exciting and scary how powerful AI is. And I think AI is going to change everything about all of our lives in ways that we can't even imagine. And I think that virtually everyone in the world is still underestimating AI. Most people don't think AI can take their jobs. Most people don't think AI can do the X, Y, or Z. I think it will surprise everyone and do more than we can possibly imagine. And I think we have to prepare for a future where our purpose changes as humans, our goals, our vision, our need for working, everything is just going to change. Whether, again, that's in a few years or a few decades, it will happen. And I think that, we're at this point in humanity where we're basically on the precipice of evolving into a new species. Like the next species of humans will be AI humans. It's like augmented human cyborg type things. And I think that's inevitable, and we're very close to it. And it's unique. Like this hasn't happened in a very, 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 very long time. So I don't know. It's very impossible to. So Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, had this tweet about 6 months back that's always stuck in my head. He said that, the next decade is going to be entirely unpredictable, and the best traits and mindset you can have is to be resilient and adaptable. And I think that's absolutely correct. Like no one knows what's going to happen next. The next few years are impossible to predict. Our human brains can't predict it. So you just, prepare yourself for anything and be ready for it, because it's going to go in some really crazy ways very, very soon.
É a era das máquinas, né?
Yeah, seriously. It is beginning.
Basta você usar, acho que qualquer uma dessas inteligências artificiais, seja o ChatGPT ou o Midjourney, que você sente uma angústia / entusiasmo no que está acontecendo, né? Acho que é um pouco disso que trata sobre inteligência artificial. Zeneca, a gente está caminhando aqui para o final, mas eu queria deixar um espaço para tanto você falar da Zen Academy, quanto também dos 30 dias de NFT, que está traduzido para português, e a gente fez a divulgação aqui no Mercado Bitcoin também. Eu queria que você falasse para as pessoas o que elas vão aprender nos 30 dias de NFT ali, nessa sequência de e-mails.
Yeah, so 30 Days of NFTs is an email course we put together about 6 months back, really to answer that question, where if you have a friend or a family member that comes to you and they're like, I'm curious about NFTs, or, how do I get started? It's like, where do you send them normally? There's no real great way. And so we put together this course where it's like, you go to 30daysofnfts.com, or I think there's a slightly different URL in Portuguese. And, you enter your email address and sign up. And then every day for 30 days, you get sent an email that just straight to your inbox. You don't need a wallet. You don't need anything. It just tells you what an NFT is. And then, how to set up a wallet. And also tells you what Ethereum is and what Bitcoin is, and how to be safe and secure and keep your seed phrase and all that kind of stuff. But over 30 days. And so this was, one of the initiatives we've done at Zen Academy to help educate and onboard people into crypto and NFTs. And that's been a big part of our mission and core values over the last 18 months. And now going forward, we're, continuing in that vein, except now we're going to be helping more builders and founders and creators. And, if you're someone wanting to launch your own project, or if you're a Web2 company or business and you want to get into Web3 and maybe release your own NFTs or have some sort of blockchain presence, then we want to help them as well by, content and consulting and all that kind of stuff. So, big picture, that's kind of Zen Academy. And we've built this incredible community over the last 18 months that have just, they're in our Discord, they're on Twitter, in our spaces. We have an email list. We're in a whole variety of places. We have in real life meetups. We had one in London this week or last week, one in Tokyo the week before, in New York. Tomorrow there's one in Romania. There's just community members meeting up all over the world, and it's wonderful to see. And we just want to keep doing that and getting people together to just really bring excellent humans together to get to know each other and learn more about this space and thrive together, really.
Eu acho que o maior valor desse espaço está realmente nisso. Eu fui na NFT New York nessa última edição e eu pude sentir exatamente isso. O valor está ali, você está pessoas incríveis, em volta de pessoas incríveis, fazendo um network e está se aprofundando ali no espaço. Encontrar pessoas com os mesmos interesses e está sempre construindo. Eu acho que esse é o maior valor intangível do espaço, né? Do espaço de NFTs no geral. E só tenho que te agradecer por
Yeah.
isso, porque encontrei muita gente maneira ali no Zen Academy e, como eu já disse no início, se eu tô aqui hoje foi muito por conta do Zen Academy também. Então, muito obrigado de novo.
Thank you as well. I'm
Maravilha.
really glad to hear.
Maravilha. Cara, a gente está chegando aqui ao final. Queria mais uma vez aqui agradecer o seu tempo, Zeneca. Obrigado por ter aceito o convite aqui. Foi um ótimo papo. Tenho certeza aí que não só o Bernard que está aqui com o olho brilhando, mas todo mundo que ouviu esse bate-papo deve ter ficado aí muito feliz com os seus ensinamentos. Obrigado de novo. Obrigado, Bernard. E a gente vai ficando por aqui. Um forte abraço aí. Dou espaço para você dar suas palavras finais.
I mean, thank you so much for having me. This has been really, really fun. I mean, it's just been a pleasure chatting to you both and talking about AI and NFTs and the bear market and, you know, all these incredible topics. It's been a real pleasure. I really appreciate you having me here. And yeah, hope we do it again sometime.
Maravilha. Até a próxima. Tchau, tchau.